What's up, everybody? Man, money's on my mind. I just said, what's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are tuned in from. Welcome to the BitLab Academy daily stream. My name's Kellam. Welcome to the show. We are our own independent business. We are our own community. We are our own family. That's what we are here at the BitLab Academy. Welcome to the show. If this is your first time, I really hope it's not going to be your last time. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of rumors. There's a lot of misinformation out there. And I can guarantee you there's going to be, I don't want to say a day of reckoning, but I'm a man with you all. I'm an island here. And I don't want to cast any aspersions in either direction. Let's be that island of positivity in the space. And with that, this stream's going to be a little shorter because I have to run to the airport. I'm flying up to New York today. I have some stuff to take care of at my apartment up in New York, but I will be streaming, regular streams tomorrow and the rest of the week, and then early next week. But love each and every one of you. Let's keep this focused on what's going on in the charts, what's going on in here with BitLab, and let's everybody be patient and kind and realize, for legal reasons, I cannot talk about things. And, casting assumptions based on things you don't know may make you look quite silly. And I just say, just be patient, be kind. Let's go ahead and get this going. Now, everybody, if you haven't yet, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding the bell. It looks like we cut some fat. I'm happy to cut as much more fat as we need to for anybody that's not open-minded, kind, or patient. If you're not open-minded, kind, or patient, get the hell out of here. I don't want you here anyway. Let's go ahead and talk about what's going on in these charts. First thing first, before we get in there, we had a great stream yesterday. All due to Grayscale. Everybody, we happen to be going live right when it hit. So big love to everybody that tuned in, especially if you're new here. I love you. I appreciate you. Now let's go ahead and make sure you're heading over to the BitLab Academy Twitter page here. Hit that follow. Make sure you're following here. Look for the gold check mark. Look for the hit logo. Hit that retweet. Hit that like button. This is how you get entered to win. We got a lot of things we're going to be talking about today. It's going to be primarily chart focused. We're not really going to be talking about the news. But to Rafiq Ghafoor, you called it correctly. Actually, I think it was Brad Guidel. Yeah, that track that I was playing right before, it was the beginning of a mix I did at a festival a month or so back. It's a remix. It's the first remix I ever did of Fatboy Slim and Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" into another track. So it's actually it's not the original Fatboy Slim. It's a remix I did. But let's go ahead and jump into what's going on here. I just want to point out a couple things. This isn't necessarily news, but just considerations. This is more macro looking. Visa, MasterCard planning to increase fees. What's one of the best factors about Bitcoin and crypto and digital assets? Are there fees? Yeah, there's fees. There's gas fees. There's transaction fees. But if you compared it on a ratio basis, it's near basically you could argue it that it's zero on a ratio basis, and it's obviously not zero, but it's so small that it's inconsequential typically. Now, if you're participating in DEXs and you're buying and selling and stuff and do stuff like that on trading on DEXs, then there's a lot of traffic. Typically, you can get periods of time where there's very high volume, a number of people transacting, and thus Ethereum gas fees can get quite high, but it still can be quite low if you look at it, the average. DJ Tolman said, what do you use to produce in Remix Kill? I use Ableton. When I'm actually DJing live, it's just actual CDJs and a mixer. I was a professional DJ for 15 years, so Ableton is, I like Ableton the best, but Logic's good too. So is Cubase and Fruity Loops and all that kind of stuff. But let's go ahead and keep this going because we don't have a lot of time. Visa and MasterCard raising their fees. I'm guessing it's partly to do with inflation, but let's be honest. They've been taking a cut of nearly every transaction you've been doing for most of your life. So why do they need more fees? They're making enough money, right? Let's see. US dollar index. Before we dive into the charts and do the TM, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the things, is officially retesting a 200-day moving average cloud as potential support. What does this mean? If we look at this, this is an exponential moving average. This one that's basically moving more closely. And then the slower, simple moving average, slower moving, because a simple moving average is essentially, say you have a 10 moving average or a 20 moving average or a 200, doesn't matter what the number is. The number is a designation of what time period is looking back. The time period is determined by what, I almost said clock, what chart you're looking at. If you're looking at a daily chart, if you're looking at a 200 moving average, that's a 200-day. This simple moving average is an average price of the last 200 candles. The exponential moving average, the 200 EMA instead of a 200 SMA, EMA exponential, 200 SMA simple. If you're looking at the 200 exponential, then this is going to be weighted more heavily towards the average of the price is going to be weighted more heavily towards the current price action. So it ends up moving a bit quicker. And I really like what Kellam does here. He does this on a regular basis. And that is, he does charts where he calls it a cloud, but it's really just, you have basically an EMA and an SMA. So you're seeing the slower and the faster moving. And in this case, look at these. These are basically on top of each other right now. The Dixie broke out. We don't care about this. We want Bitcoin. Well, you have to understand what the risk narrative is to really, really dive in and understand what's going on with your risk assets. And one of those ways you can do that is by looking at what's going on the dollar index. In this case, we did break out of this long, it was kind of a descending triangle here, but we broke out of this and we're testing this right now. So there's kind of an interesting, Falco, what's up? He said $5. He said nothing but positivity. That's what I'm talking about. I love each and every one of you. And hey, myself included, you heard me do it pre-stream. Every one of us falls off the path of positivity. Every one of us will snap. Every one of us can get angry or irritated. It's how quick you get back on that path that matters. So love each and every one of you. Now here, what the heck were we talking about? Oh, so there's sort of we're sitting on the edge of either potential bounce on the dollar index. If this really starts pressing higher, this could mean, it would cause some concern as to what's going to be going on with the risk narrative in markets. In this case, it's sitting on the edge of this. If this falls back into this and falls back to, this is what we really want. In addition to the news that we saw, in addition to what we saw with the, I'm getting distracted because I have the chat right here where I can see now. I got to get used to this because I usually have it off the way. That's why I always miss so many things on chat. But I'm here to read what you guys are saying. I love you guys. I want to be able to tune into questions and thoughts you guys have. Now, I don't remember what I was talking about again. The dollar index and Bitcoin and all the news. There's so much that seems like it's on the edge of greatness or failure. And some things we want, I don't want to say fail, breaking down or pushing up. There's some things we want to break down. I want the dollar index to break down. I want Bitcoin to push higher, right? So if I want Bitcoin to push higher, we should be watching what's going on with the dollar index because this could have broader implications. Whether it's immediate or foreshadowing will be something that will be determined in how we see things play out in the charts. Now, I'm going to move fairly quickly through these different tweets I have real quick that I've highlighted, that I want to highlight here, and then we're going to dive right into the charts. We're going to be doing a bunch of tea. I want everybody in the room right now, every single one of you, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We got still like 58% or something, 55% of people that watch on a daily basis aren't subscribed. We lost a few subscribers in the last few days. That's okay. There's a lot of confusion about what's going on, and I don't have any hate for anybody. I just say, hey, let's get those numbers back up. Let's combat this negativity. And on any other stream, whether it's our stream, whether it's Frankie Candles, whether it's BitBoy Crypto, where it doesn't matter. The teams that are doing stuff are not involved. The teams that are doing all these, the content, all we're doing is here to bring you content, man. So be positive in there. Be a positive beacon. Be a positive beacon in any chat you're in. Let's make it a change in all of crypto media, whether it's YouTube, comments on Twitter, comment, whatever it is. So much just I don't even want to use the word out there, but okay, here we go. We're going to continue on. We're going to jump right into the charts here very shortly. Global and U.S. net liquidity turning slightly higher since quietly bottoming in mid-August thanks to increased Chinese liquidity injections and material drainage of the U.S. overnight reverse repo market. So does it show up on the chart yet? Because what were we just talking about? We were talking about the risk narrative with the dollar index giving us an insight on the risk narrative. But one of the other things we need is not what is the risk narrative. One of the things that influences the risk narrative is what is liquidity doing? If there's going to be large injections, if there's known to be large injections of capital planned, or something, just shows up in liquidity data where we can see maybe things aren't disclosed in a different country or whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. When we start seeing liquidity come in, people that really understand how to operate in these markets, smart money institutions, professional traders, they see that as a signal to buy, because increased liquidity reduces the risk metric, allowing for it to take more, because it's a foreshadowing of liquidity coming into the market. So we want to pay attention to this, but we want to also look at the charts. Is liquidity going higher? Now, this is a very macro chart in terms of Bitcoin. It's not that macro when we're talking about stock market and stuff, but this goes back to, near the beginning, not at the beginning, but near the beginning of Bitcoin, around, 11 years back. And we could see, this is a global liquidity metric here on the Bitcoin strategy platform. We can see that this has formed a new low. And unfortunately, we can't zoom in on this, but this is starting. There is a little bit of a pause here, like it's trying to find a little bit of if at minimum, potentially a temporary bottom in the reduction in global liquidity. How you doing, unforgettable name? How you doing, Redman? How you doing, Mellow Fellow? Crimson Caravan Company, Sawtooth Hiker, Crypto Pollo, Redman. How's everybody doing? Brad Guidell, Alexander G, Bro Coachino De Niro. We didn't do roll call. We need everybody in the room right now to throw in. This is a roll call. Throw in 2 coins you'd like to see some TA on, and I'll try to get through as many as possible before the end of the stream. Again, remember, this is going to be a little bit shorter. So I want to see everybody commenting in the chat right now. Something positive and a couple coins. Now, global liquidity is still, it's not postured yet. The chart displays that it's not postured yet for a reversal. For instance, like right here, we see this dip, we see this initial push up, we see the price action come back down, and once it breaks past this high right here, you can see clearly that this was a start of a huge injection of liquidity into the market, and this front ran this giant move that happened. This was the FTX collapse. The global liquidity started coming in very heavily about midway through this consolidation, and then what happened? Large inflows of capital back into Bitcoin, and then the hype starts coming in, which just compounds that. So we just got to keep an eye on that. Now, only a couple more things here. Corporate profits came in much better than expected. This is another positive for markets because it reflects that the corporate sector is still doing well despite slowing down. Now, okay, thoughts there. We don't need to get into it. Profits came in better than expected, despite, everybody, some people arguing that, absolute destruction is coming, and maybe it is. But right now, the data is not yet showing it's happening now, and we want to. It's not happening now or in the next two months. It seems like slower than expected growth means there's less reason to remain restrictive based on the Fed's Keynesian model of economics. Yields moving lower, because plus 2.1% real growth is still solid, particularly in a 4% inflation environment. It's supportive of asset prices. So all these, of course, we haven't talked about crypto yet, but have we? All these things we have to check into on a regular basis about what is the foundation, what is the bedrock, of the risk perception and the narrative in the market, so that we can look into the different directional, I'm getting a bunch of dings in my ear, looking into a bunch of directional, whatever the trend direction is, understanding what a bias may be in the market, and if that bias is about to flip and change. We can get leading data by looking at all this different stuff, from liquidity to the risk narrative to what's going on with, especially right now in this very tight, things are still going up in terms of the stock market, but everybody's still kind of like, but really, it's not like, all right, bull market, it's like there's like a reluctant bull trend. And even now with Bitcoin, and we're going to get into Bitcoin, but even looking directly at Bitcoin, we can see here, if we look at this on the 3-day chart, we still, all of you have seen it, not only the pump we just got, but look at the pump in context of the broader move. We're still, I mean, you know, if we're looking at this just with the Fibonacci, we have not even, we've not even overtaken, let's see, this would be from about right there. We basically tapped up into the golden pocket here and got rejected. So on the one hand, we are in a bullish trend. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, but depends on what you're looking at. If you're looking at this on the BitGet chart, because there's a lot more, leverage that was in this actually got a lower low. See this? This is a lower low than what happened here. Looking at the Bitstamp chart, we can see that we have a higher low. And so we do have an uptrend on this midterm-ish macro. We do have a bull trend, but on this recent pullback, we've also gotten closer to testing where that previous low was. And this rebound that we currently have, let me go ahead and delete this. This rebound that we currently have, while I want it to go up, and in no way am I saying it's going down. In fact, I'm leaning more bullish, but I have to look at the charts and acknowledge that we are below the 20 moving. This is on the 3-day. On the 3-day, we're below the 20 moving average. Let's get down to the daily. All right, so we did break above the 50. Yeah, that's great. I didn't notice this since yesterday. We did break above the 50 moving average, this trend signal line right here that's red. We broke through all this dynamic resistance zone. We got a high volume candle, but then look at this, right at the golden pocket. The candle body closed right at the golden pocket, and then we got stopping volume. Now, there's two primary things I want to focus on here. We're going to get into this in a second. We'll actually come back to this. There's two primary things I want to focus on here so we can understand how to play this. Yeah. So let's go ahead. Where was I at? We talked about that. Oh, this right here, on balance volume. I wanted to show this before we dive into the TA. Volume, again, volume is one of the absolute best things you could ever utilize to understand where the fuel for the move is, right? And this is why even here on the BitLab trading stack, when on all the indicators we use here, the BitLab intelligence up here, the trend fuel down here, and then the BitLab volume, which I'm not sure why it's not there. It is the BitLab volume here. It has order blocks as well as you can see there's so much on this that you can utilize. There we go. See different the volume levels, the buying and selling volume. There's so much on here between these three. But in both the trend fuel, which is down here, and the BitLab intelligence, we have volume cooked into the metric, so you get another read in addition to this BitLab volume. And what I mean by that is you can see that there's a hell of a lot of selling volume here, and then we get stopping volume, which signifies a stop of that trend to the downside, which could be consolidation or reversal. In this case, we got the reversal. In this case, we got high volume. How do I know it? Because the dark purple is high volume selling. The teal is high volume buying, a lot of buying pressure. And then we get stopping volume with these yellow candles. So the question here, is this going to be a small consolidation, bull flag, bull pennant, something? Or is this going to be a retrace down? Well, coming back to this chart, one of the things that I like about this chart, this is a four-hour chart for Bitcoin. We can see that we had the FTX collapse, consolidation, and what I want you to notice down here, while it may look similar, these are two different metrics. This is actual Bitcoin price on exchange, the tradable price of this asset. This is the on balance volume. Now, what this is showing is volume, AKA another metric for interest in asset, whether it be buying or selling. There's something interesting about that for people to, really be getting involved or leaving their involvement behind because there's not a move present or not something that they're interested in. And in this case, we can see right here we have this downtrend. It breaks out, and this breaking of this line signified a large move. Breaking of this line signified a large move. Breaking of this line signified a large move. And we just got that next breaking of the line. Does it mean the previous three instances are going to happen again? I don't know. We don't know. We can't know. But what we can do is prepare and stack this is something that has been relatively basically since November, December last year. Every time that this setup has happened, has produced a large move. So is this a trap or not? By the way, if anybody's interested in trying to really dive in deeper and learn about how to read these different charts, understand indicators, understand price structure, different candles and candle patterns, and trading strategy and trading fundamentals, we've got all of it here in the BitLab Trading Academy. Head over to BitLabAcademy.com, and you can see there's all these different courses in here that you get access to. And we still have that coupon, by the way. I think I'm going to extend it because all this stuff going on, but you can use this code right here, give me 30. And you can use it on the trading stack, the BitLab Pro or the BitLab All Access. All three, you get that, and that's here on the my internet at home is not as fast. Here we go. When you come over here and you click on enroll, this is where you see the BitLab Pro, which gives you the indicators, the courses, and the premium Discord, or the All Access, which is the courses and the premium Discord. If you just want the indicators, come right here to BitLab Trading Stack, right there, and you put that, and all those things I just told you about, you can use that code, give me 30, and get 30%. You getting some bass coming through? Is it my elbows hitting the desk? I'm sorry about that. I'll keep still. But yeah, you can use give me 30 for 30% off your first month. Now, looking here, daily, we got all that moved. Let's get down into the nitty gritty, talk about what's going on here, and then I will kind of try to blast through some altcoins as well. All right, so let's get a little bit of a lay of the land. Let's act like we haven't seen this before. Let's act like we haven't seen this before at all. Why does this keep falling? The light keeps falling. There we go. Thank you very much, Crypto Brando. I appreciate you. Everybody has a right to their opinion, you know, and everybody has a right to be heard, right? So we got this. Oops, that's not what I want to do. We've got this major trend line that starts all the way back here in December 2022. This line right here. Let's make this blue just so it's very obvious. We're gonna make it bright blue. We're gonna make it a solid line. Actually, where's it at? Where's the lines at? So this is the line we're looking at. We've lost this line, fell down quite quickly. So the question is going to be, there's a couple levels directly above us. Let me turn off this to make it just a little bit cleaner on the chart while we're looking at this together. I'm actually going to come down. I'm going to come to this chart right here. So before we look at the lines, we have this breakdown. And I mentioned when we had this breakdown that there's a couple potentialities. Come down, potential bear flag, continuation down. We marked that out. We also had the potentiality of having a sideways consolidation and slower work up. And then I also mentioned, because there was a huge inefficiency in this price action, meaning price action just fell through the floor. There's not real, I mean, there's a minimal level here, there's a minimal level here. And interestingly, on this level, look at where price is. So if you're wondering, why did we stop here? Or you're wondering if price does break in a certain direction, where might it stop before the move continues? Remember, always look left on the chart. In this case, looking left on the chart, we see that there is a stutter step here. So if we do option H, actually there's going to be all the different lines and stuff. So option H, well, we can see right here, this is exactly where that stutter step was. Well, this is regionally kind of right about where these previous highs were. This also got rejected. This bounced at this level, all this support here. So it kind of makes sense that there was a bit. Why does this line keep? Oh, I'm an idiot. That was the point of control. It kind of makes sense that there was a little bit of a stutter step there, and also that there's a little bit of a hesitation where we're at. Because remember, although this sucks going down unless you took a short before it dropped, and this sucks going up if you're not in it, but if you're in it, you want this to do this, right? No, we don't want that. Now, we want it if we're in a very quick scalp trade, sure. But in reality, for the broader health of price action, especially when we're looking at like the 4 hour and above, when you have these massive moves, in this case, this isn't really that massive. I mean, it's 8% move, which is good, but we've had some pretty big moves over the course of a couple of days in Bitcoin in history. So in this case, You know, this was basically 26,000 to 28, so a $2,000 move. It's nothing to shake a stick at, but we don't want this just to go all the way back up, you know, very inefficiently back up. Inefficiently means if you jump, what are you gonna do? You're gonna fall back to earth. If you take the stairs up to that same height you jumped to, you know, if you jump on a trampoline, for instance, you get launched in the air, there's no support beneath you. If you stair step up, if you do the work, if the price action says there's an even number of buyers and sellers the whole way through, and you're kind of going like this, you know, working, whatever, however it is, but it's working its way upwards, letting buyers and sellers determine the price, not letting open interest and leverage and derivatives, poor risk management get squeezed to a point that causes forced selling and forced buying. We don't want that. We can kind of feel that in the chart when we see stuff like this, when we see this very quick, I mean, almost instantaneously, you know, over the course of very small period of time, drop all the way down like that is. Now, because of this inefficiency, there does beg the argument that we can be a little bit inefficient on the way up because of how fast this got cleared out. Now, we got that pop right here. My hope would be from here that we don't get just another big pop. It would be to actually have the price action. Let's say that this continues as it is, as this, you know, sort of bull pennant, bull flag, bull pennant, however you want to call it. I kind of intermix them. They're slightly different, but the practicality reasons in charting, they're the same thing. Now, in this case, there's a couple things we see. If this is a bear bull pennant, we have a couple things we want to look at. We're right here at the golden pocket from the drop down. So this is because we've paused here, doesn't make me feel like a bear. It makes it feel like the bulls need to do the work. And if the bulls cannot get us back over here and test $30,000 and on a rejection hold above this golden pocket, meaning if the price does push up, maybe something like this, come down, test here, come up in this region. If we do get a pullback, it needs to stay above this region right here. Because if the bulls are making an attempt and then they lose necessary sort of known, regular known support on a retrace from here, it's going to be very easy for the bears to really suck this back down, barring us not having other big news come out. Now, we do have all those, you know, several more big news things coming out later this week with some potential ETF decisions or delays, or, you know, whatever's going on with not BlackRock, Grayscale and the SEC, if there's going to be any movement on that. Now that case was won, you know, how long is that review going to take? I'm not going to speculate on all that. I didn't have time to read the news on those dates this morning. But the point here, if we're just looking at the chart, let's look at the chart real quick. We've got the high volume, you have the stopping volume at a known location, so this is not worrisome. You don't get worried when you're pausing in an area that you expect to be tested by the bears. And also, not only the bears, this is if you were playing this move, this is a known level also that's smart. If you're trading basically the swings, you know, you're not trading a position all the way into the next bull market top. If say you have a small small portion of your portfolio that's just trading and you're trying to swing trade and scalp trade, then taking this trade right here, having this this should have already been preset as one of your take profit levels right here at this golden pocket zone. Golden pocket zone right here, $27,000 to $28,000. It may actually be even a little higher depending on where you draw it, because you have to understand this is an art form. Everybody draws these things a little differently. Maybe you're drawing it up here, maybe you're drawing it from here, maybe you're drawing all the way up here. But if we do that, remember I did this the other day. If this is the golden pocket, if this is the golden pocket, if you're drawing it that way, let's see where other people may think the golden pocket is. Let's see where the last point of breakdown right here. So roughly the same spot. So my point being here is you could have literally used the understanding that TA is an art form and everybody will interpret how and what and when and where to put certain levels. And the more you do it, you're going to get more accustomed to putting naturally selecting areas that have very high hit rates. But because people have different perspectives of this, and maybe they're on log, maybe they're on linear, you know, whether they're looking at the chart like this, like this, like log or linear, this has a much bigger aspect ratio change when you're on looking at a larger time frame. Is log on? Yeah. But we have two different golden pocket levels. So you could have set a take profit right here, set another take profit right here, and then your third take profit just below where the breakdown point was, roughly right here. So boom, you would have had three take profits. One of them would have already been hit. This is pulling back. Based on how the price action does here, you could determine whether or not you want to layer some of those profits that you took here back in on the retest of this 20 moving average. This, see right here, as it's coming down on this trend, this basically secondary trend signal line, this 20 exponential moving average within the EMA ribbon. And we have the trend signal line way down here, the weekly VWAP way down here. So if this holds here, this is basically doing the most bullish setup of a pullback. We're having a push up, a little bit of a hesitation, slight pullback to the 20 moving average here on the 4-hour time frame. And if we hold this and we push back up, I expect this to be pushing higher. As it stands right now on the daily, got a lot of green, but some of these indicators can lag based on where the momentum is being read, how, you know, how much time it takes some data to calculate and then change. So on the daily, this is why we want to look at daily and then come down and look at 4-hour and see that we've got this pullback. Okay, but this is starting to look a little more neutral. We have a couple bullish, a couple neutral, a couple bearish. What does it look down on a smaller time frame? Okay, it's looking a little bit, it's leaning a little bit more bearish. And on the 1-hour, we've lost this trend signal line, but we still have the weekly VWAP down here. This is kind of the point right here, which is interesting because look at where the weekly VWAP is. It's basically perfectly in line with where the tops of this zone is. And in fact, you see this line right here, this square right here. This line is propagated on the chart on the BitLab Intelligence when you get these stopping volumes, and it basically gives you the highest point of that stopping volume area, and you can utilize this as a potential level for retesting. It's a stronger level to retest than just this wick here. In addition to that, what I thought was interesting is this zone right here is basically perfectly in line, almost in parity. Look at that, with where that the weekly VWAP is. So 26,715. If we lose 26,715, I'm going to start leaning a bit more bearish about price action actually coming back here and potentially testing liquidity to the downside. As it stands right now, Bitcoin is still looking like it's you know, we've got our setup. Somebody bought here because the hype was there. Smart money took profits and sold it to somebody, bought this hype. Price action sells off a little bit because other people taking profits. Strong buyers are not buying yet because they're waiting for a little bit of a pullback. And then we determine where the narrative of the bulls or the bears is based on at what point those buyers start coming in and defending and saying, okay, this gave me my pullback. Now I'm re-entering to go long. And when the majority of the market does that, when when you start getting the majority of buyers at a level, and the quantity and the number of buyers starts overweighing how many bears are there at that level, that's when you get the reversal. So in this case, somebody bought the hype and then the price gets pushed down and they're like, oh, God damn it, it's going back down. So then they start selling their coins, you know, right here. And then who are they selling them to? The smart people looking to take this to the next leg. The question is, how do you stack the probabilities in your favor so that you can do it? Dump or pump would be great TA show title. I think a lot of people use that in their thumbnails and stuff. But ultimately, if this loses this zone, it's not the end of the world. We've got this level. We've got this level right here, and we'll actually do regionally, which is essentially the 26.7 to 26.8. So let's call it 26.750. Regionally within, $40, $80. If we come down and lose that, essentially in reality, just this weekly VWAP, which it just shows you what the number is on the chart. So you don't even have to draw the number. But if we do come down here, there's two things. We have this giant order block right here. What's the order block? The order block is a collection, a cluster of a bunch. You see the green box? It's a bunch of different orders that are showing a lot of interest in those levels. And so the one saving grace I'll say, if price does test liquidity to the downside, we have this large order block here that's showing that there's been a lot of interest at this level. So not only do we have the weekly VWAP, we also have, I'm going to delete this real quick. Oops. We also have the order block right here in the zone. Now, if we do dip in this, there's a potential, the probabilities for the bulls gets weaker if we lose this weekly VWAP, because it's not only the VWAP, but it's also the high of this previous range high. So if we lose that and come down and test this, there's still a potentiality. It's basically just committing people lower and it goes up. But the further we get back into this zone, the less confidence and sentiment bullish sentiment is still going to be there from the news that came yesterday. So we want to see some motion, some action here. Hopefully, not only breaking this level, but also this trend signal line right here. And if we do break out, coming up and testing into these order blocks above, and ultimately, I do think if we do push out of here, we'll likely get a pit stop. I'm going to move this up. We'll likely get a pit stop right here at 28.5, 560. Potential rejection. We'll have to see what the volume and the momentum and the buying power, what the signals say, where the RSIs and stochastics are. If this pushes up and the stochastics are not completely overheated here, then I think that it's probably going to continue to the upside. And then ultimately, we're going to really test ourselves at 29,150 to 29.5. It's just this sort of range right here, which ultimately comes perfectly in line. I don't know if we're going to get to any ETA on alts today, guys. I'm almost having to get to the airport. Ultimately, we've got this massive trend line right here that we have this touch point. Then we have this touch point right here. I just drew it from those 2 points and projected forward. Then we get rejection. And are we going to come up? When we do come up into this 29.5, it's basically be perfectly in line. Look at all these this huge cluster of work we have to do right here. We have this larger downtrend that we have to fight. We have this much longer, we have this heavy resistance above us from all the way back in December 2022. We also have the previous sort of consolidation and range level right here, and all of that has to be done directly above us. Now, if price were to get up into this zone, my argument would be is that there's probably some positive news narrative that's carrying us there, and then there's going to be a potential if we get back into the $30,000 range, because the sentiment hype is going to come back, that we could knock our head through this, but we can't count on that. Pay attention to these levels, understand what's going on. That's what I got to say about Bitcoin. We're going to do some super turbo TA real quick. Ethereum, we had the reversal diamond right here. We broke through the trend signal line, pushed to the upside. Now let's go. We're on the 12-hour. Let's go to the 2-hour just so we can see some levels. Look at that. Where'd we stop? Boom, perfectly right here. Right where there was, you know what I'm saying? Right where there was this price interaction from before. The chart tells you where price is going to go. Now, in this case, if this is the bull flag and we got a little bit of time left while we can still consider it a bull flag, where does that take us? Basically back to near parity of where we were before, back to equilibrium. So we had the quick fall consolidation, diamond pattern reversal here. We broke out of this diamond pattern, and as soon as we broke out of this diamond pattern reversal, moonshot up. So was it because, this is what everybody always wants to argue, was it because of grayscale, or was it because of the charts? Was it because the sentiment was already coiled? Do they wait to release news until charts are coiled? All these things are interconnected, and all we can do is stare at these charts and be aware of the news and try to understand what other people may be thinking. And in this case, if this is, a bullish flag, bullish pennant, bullish anything like that, let's go ahead and get, there's not really a trend line there. I mean, we can do it just for, it's very ugly. This is the ugliest bull pennant I've ever drawn. But we can see we're constricting in the zone. Stochastics on the bottom down here on the trend volume, trend fuel here, all part of the BitLab trading stack. You can see The stochastic's coming down. It's all the way down at 17%. RSI is still hovering there at about 50%. So in all honesty, here on the 2 hour, RSI is still holding above 50%. So that's quite bullish. The momentum's still going up, although it is looking like it's starting to turn. What does it look like down on the 30 minutes? Let's see, get a little bit better view here. RSI has come down, but it's rolling back over. Stochastics looks like they have a little bit of an, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Stochastics look like they have a little bit of a trend line. No, we've broken, oh, this is good. So on the stochastics, on the trend fuel, we had a little bit of a trend line here, and this is going to be interesting here. It's a little bit of a trend line here. Stochastics have broken up, testing here. If we lose this, then it's probably a little bit further down, but we do see the momentum's rolling over here. We do see the momentum's rolling over. This is on a smaller time frame, and this makes sense because we're coiling in the zone, potentially bouncing at this level. If we lose this level, similar to Bitcoin, I'm looking at testing between this range right here, essentially 1686 and 1675, essentially. Weekly VWAP's right in this zone too. Now, if we look at Cardano, 4 hour, I don't want to look on Binance. So we got to move up, but man, look at that. Cardano got a full move down. I didn't see, was there, can you guys let me know? Because I was packing everything. Was there news on Cardano? Was there some reason that this had the, you know, weak move to the upside comparatively and fall back down in the zone? But this is right in consolidation zone too. So back in the same zone. So, I mean, this is not looking too relatively good because this also lost this level here. Yeah, I'd be very hesitant on Cardano at the moment. I'd be looking at levels, you know, 25.78, and then potentially 25.40 if we continue down. Let's do 2 more and then I've got to go. Algo, how you doing, baby? Who out there is an algo holder? It looks the same as Bitcoin. A lot of this may also have to do with capital flow within the markets. So Bitcoin's performing well. There's still questions on stuff. So it's like, okay, let's get on that train. People are starting to realize maybe an ETF is coming. So there could be a little bit of capital hesitation within altcoins because Bitcoin's looking very attractive right now with potential ETFs. So we need to know that. I didn't realize my face wasn't on the screen. AVAX had to push up and sell back off, but this one's holding currently above this weekly VWAP. If we lose a weekly VWAP at 1042, it looks like, look, we have an order block right down here. These green and red boxes. See these order blocks auto-populate? Look at that. Point of control is all the way at the bottom here. Oh, it depends on where we're. There's a strong level at the bottom of the order block range, which is 1004. I'm not calling for that. But what I am saying is if we lose that sort of trend line and the 1042 weekly VWAP, then I do think we're coming down to test in this order block between 1018 and 1014. If we can't hold this region right around this trend signal line, I think we're testing not only back to 995, but may be testing lower because this was a huge sentiment boost. And if the sentiment boost fails and follow through on the market, then the bulls say, screw it. And the bears say, I can take it all for mine. So just know that. But everybody, I love you. I have to run for now because I have to head over to the airport. But I just want to shout out, if you guys want to learn how to read candles and price action and trading fundamentals and strategies and all that stuff, head over to bitlabacademy.com. Check it out. Click on enroll now. You can get, with all access, you can get all these different courses. And we're currently filming a bunch more stuff, a bunch more courses and content. If you want the indicators, come here to Indicators, BitLab Trading Stack. You can use that code GIVEME30 for 30% off your first month. I love you all. I appreciate y'all. Let's keep it positive. I hope I'm not going to do an afternoon stream today. I'm going to be in the air, but I will be on tomorrow from my apartment up there in New York, which you may or may not know because I'll have a green screen behind me. But I love you. I appreciate you. I hope you all have an absolutely wonderful day. Adios. Adios, muchachos. Thank you for coming. Thank you truly for tuning in. Hit that like button, sucker.